This podcast is produced by the Harwood Productions Podcast Network. To learn more about the network and to find more of our shows, visit us online at www.harwoodpodcast.com.
Today I'm going to be showing you a wonderful fall cookie called Cinnamon Pecan Shortbread. Now we're going to start by getting our dry ingredients together, and I'm going to start by getting 2 1/4 cups of flour measured out and placed in some kind of little mixing bowl. And then I'm going to get out my baking powder, and I'm going to put in 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder in with the flour. Now next I'm going to be adding 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. And then I want to take my whisk and mix all of those ingredients together. And now it's time to get the pecans ready. Now I've mentioned in previous episodes, I like to keep my baking and cooking nuts in the freezer. That way they're always fresh, but I always use whole nuts. So for this recipe, I really need to chop them up very, very fine. Not pulverized, but pretty darn fine. And then I measure out 1 cup and I put that in with my dry ingredients and mix those together. Then it's time to get the wet ingredients together, and for these cookies it's just 1 egg and then a teaspoon of vanilla, and I just go ahead and put the vanilla in with the egg. Well, this is a shortbread, so we have to use butter. And so I put in 2 sticks of unsalted butter that I've softened, and I just kind of whip those around a little bit till they get nice and fluffy. And then I go ahead and I stop the mixer, and I'm going to start adding my sugars. Now, I'm going to add 3/4 cup of white sugar and 1/4 cup of brown sugar. And the brown sugar is a little bit of a novelty for a shortbread, but with this one it just adds so much richness. And then I'm just going to go ahead, put my mixer on slow, and then go ahead and add that egg and vanilla. And I'm going to let the mixer go just for a little bit until those ingredients get incorporated. And then once they're pretty much put together like this, I'm going to stop it, and I'm going to take my bowl with all the flour and the leavening and the nuts, and I'm going to put it straight into the mixer bowl. Now it's really important when you bring your mixer back down that you put it on a really low speed, because we don't want the flour to fly all over the place. But you also want to watch it because we don't want to overbeat it. We don't want to get a lot of air. So just as soon as it comes together, then stop the mixer. Now this dough needs to chill for a little bit, and so what I do is I get a little piece of plastic wrap and I take the dough and I divide it in 2. And so I take the first half of the dough, put it on the plastic wrap, and I kind of press it out into sort of a log, and I use the plastic wrap to help me kind of form it. Now the thing with making a log like this is you do want things to be pretty standard in size, so make sure that your log is pretty well even all the way across. You don't want to have one end that's really thin and then one end that's really thick. So kind of mold it like clay and then tuck the ends over. Now because this dough makes enough for 2, go ahead and do the same thing with the other half of the dough. Now, one of the reasons I like to put this dough into a log is because I'm going to slice these cookies. So that's again why it's really important that we get that dough evenly dispersed on the plastic wrap, because when this comes out of the refrigerator in an hour or 2, this dough is really solid and you won't be able to mold it as easily as you can right now. And then, like with the first one, as soon as you get it into a pretty standard shape, go ahead and kind of roll it and then tuck those ends in and then flip the plastic wrap under. And then I have this little baking sheet that came with my toaster oven that's great for putting things in the refrigerator. So I'm just going to put both of them right on that sheet and put these in the refrigerator for an hour or two. They can even stay in there overnight if you'd like. Now, when you are ready to bake them off, you're going to want to get a little bowl that has a quarter of a cup of sugar and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon in it. And then you want to really make sure to stir this up well. You don't want to see, like right now, you can see those dark swirls of cinnamon. We don't want that. And once you get that mixed together, take half of the cinnamon sugar, put it on a piece of parchment or wax paper, get one of the logs out, and then just coat the whole log all over with the cinnamon sugar. Now, because it's so firm, it doesn't really pick up, if there's a dent in the dough or something, it doesn't pick up the cinnamon sugar. So what I end up doing then is actually picking up some of the cinnamon sugar with my hands, and then I kind of sprinkle it on there, and you do whatever it takes, but really try to use half of that cinnamon sugar, or as much as you can of it, to coat the entire casing of that dough. It really makes a big difference, and it really makes the sliced cookies look really pretty after they're baked. Now it's time to go ahead and get these ready to bake. So what I'm going to do is take a piece of parchment, put it on my baking sheet, and then I'm going to use a non-serrated knife. That's really important. And I'm going to cut the cookies, and you can see how firm the dough is, into slices that are anywhere between 1/4 and 3/8 of an inch. Now this is about 3/8 of an inch because I like them to be just a bit thicker. But if you like a thinner, crispier shortbread, you could definitely, err towards the 1/4 inch. But go ahead, only bake 12 at a time, because these actually are going to spread a little bit, and you wouldn't want them bumping into each other. Now tonight, as I was baking these off, I really only wanted to bake a sheet of them, so I just wrapped the rest of the dough back in its plastic wrap, and I put the rest of the cinnamon sugar back in the little bowl, and I'll save all of that. Then I can take these cookies and put them in a 350-degree oven, and they're going to bake for 12 minutes. They're not going to look really, really golden brown, but they're going to be just cooked through. And you can see what a difference having that band of cinnamon sugar around them gives this nice depth to the cookies. Well, as it turned out, the first batch of these cookies I ended up giving away. So the next night, I went ahead and cooked the rest of the dough. And as it turns out, that dough I had made 2 days earlier, and the cookies just turned out really great. So I wouldn't hesitate to keep them in the fridge a couple of days, or even in the freezer. Well, if you're ready to start bringing a little spicy cookie into your life, these cinnamon pecan shortbreads are great. If you want the recipe, just go to our website. I'll have it there for you. I also wanted to thank Iggy from Belgium. He sent me an email asking if I could put some conversion charts for the measurements on the website, and I've done that. Thanks for emailing me, Iggy. I'll see y'all next time.